All right. Well, I want to welcome everybody to today's Leader Lowdown. We're doing it a little bit differently today. My name is Joan Robison, for those of you that I don't know. And for those of you that were unable to attend and perhaps catching the replay, I want to welcome you as well. Make sure at this point that you grab a pen and some fresh paper for notes. Today, what our topic is we're going to be covering how to overcome objections with my 3-step process. Today, we're going to look at 2 objections, and I want everybody to know that if you want even more in-depth training around recruiting, I offer a ultimate recruiting blueprint training. Some of you are actually in that training right now, but if that is something that interests you, if you want more in-depth training and you're not on one of my trainings, I'm going to just say DM me or email me and let me know that you'd like information about my next class starting, because the summer months, this 3rd quarter, is a really great time to elevate your skill set, so that you can go into the 4th quarter and the fall feeling really empowered and confident with the skills that you're learning to master. Okay, so may not be you, might be somebody on your team. Many of you know I do my best to answer all my DMs in instant messenger as well as emails. I can see a few of you that I've gone back and forth with quite a little bit. So I just want to make sure that you know you have access to me in that way. All right, let me tell you a little bit about myself, because there's many people that I've never met and that will be listening in. So I started in the network marketing industry back in 2001. And I have to say, when I started, there were no computers. We did every single thing by hand. And it was all in person. Pretty much everything was in person. We went and we met people and talked to them one-on-one about the business. We also went, and I was in a company for 12 years, leading the #1 team there, that was Party Plan. Now, since then, and since those days, obviously, we've gotten computers, we've gotten more savvy around social media and how to really maximize our reach and our influence by attracting more people to us. In fact, what do you think the chances were 20 some years ago of me having a team, which I do also, around the world, or clients around the world? I was just talking to somebody, and my largest team is in Europe. So isn't that amazing? That would have never happened had it not been for social media. So this training isn't necessarily around social media, but I am going to talk to you really frankly about the process of not only overcoming objections, but inviting objections. I know when I started my business, when I was faced with somebody saying things like, I'm really not a salesperson, or I don't have enough money, even though I had been in sales, some of the objections that I was getting in network marketing were different. I might have heard things like, isn't that a pyramid scheme? I don't think I want any part of that. Or, you know, I don't have enough time with my regular job, right? And so what I recognized really quickly was that I needed a process to feel confident to help people through the objection. When I began my network marketing business, I like to tell people that I was one of the people that was in more fear, probably than most people that I sign up. And you know, I had, like I mentioned, quite a bit of sales experience. I was an executive at Nordstrom. Some of you may know that. It's a fairly high-end department store in the US, and I worked at their corporate offices. But this was a whole nother ballgame to me, because people weren't coming to me. It was me talking to people, being the initiator. And what I want you to know is you will not get an objection from someone unless you've built a level of rapport with them. So that's a really good note to take to start out. You aren't going to get an objection until you've built rapport. And we're going to talk, I'm going to do a quick review of the recruiting process and why you want to make sure that you follow these steps in order so that you can successfully recruit and ultimately add new team members. So the process that we go through is recruiting. The result is then I sponsor them into my business by partnering with them. Are you guys with me? Okay. So let's just talk about objections and how we feel when we get those if we don't have tools. Has anybody here ever gotten an objection and not known really what to say, or kind of everything was going along pretty good and then you're like, oh my God, what do I say? Has anybody ever felt like that? Raise your hand if that's you. Okay, yeah, most everybody at one point or another. Teresa, do you want to explain kind of maybe how it's felt for you? Because of course I know you there, little lady.
Thank you, Joan. It's a long time ago, but I know the feeling, because when someone is questioning what you are saying, it doesn't feel nice. And I am thinking that, why are you thinking like that? Don't you understand what I am telling to you for you?
Right. Yes. So to your point, and I'm so glad you shared it, Teresa, the way you did, because when we get an objection, we kind of get a little sometimes frustrated. Like, oh, they think it's a pyramid scheme. Why are they thinking this? Or we might be thinking like, what do they mean they don't have enough time? Come on, of course they have time. Okay, I want to teach you right now to love objections, to love them, because guess what? Objections are not the argument that you think they could be. What they are is it shows that your prospect has actually thought about doing what you do. If I don't get an objection, I get a little concerned. If they don't say something like, oh, geez, I don't know if I'm a salesperson, or, you know, how much time is this really going to take me? Or, you know, Joan, I've got some real concerns about, you know, my abilities, and I don't know if this is something for me. Do you get where I'm going? See, naturally, in our human form, we want to tell people why they shouldn't feel the way they feel, right? Because we're looking at it from our perspective. Are you guys following me? And so what we want to do is we want to take ourselves out of it. So this is going to be the perfect place for me to remind you of the steps to recruiting. So step one is we create interest. Okay, step one is to create interest. Let me just reach, sorry, you guys. And we do that through our social media, through messaging people, through sharing product. And when we create interest, we want to be brief and impactful and illustrate to people the satisfaction of being involved in our companies, right? So we want to help people picture themselves doing what we do. We want to say it in our own words, and we want to avoid, cliches like, flexible hours. We want to describe using stories what that looks like. So that's step one. Step two is to set an appointment. And I'm just going to give you a little bit on these guys because it's going to help you really understand the process. And again, in my course, The Ultimate Recruiting Blueprint, each one of these is a training, okay? But setting the appointment is crucial. Now, I want you to think about it. If you were going to go to a doctor's office and you had to have a surgery, let's say you had to get your, rotator cuff fixed. If you didn't have an appointment, if the doctor said, well, you just swing in any old time, what would you think? I'd probably think, was the guy a whack job over there? Does he have no clients? Does he have no business? Wow, he's wide open. I don't know if I want that guy. Do you get where I'm going? So when we set an appointment, what we're really saying to somebody is, my time is important, but most importantly, we're saying so is yours. And I don't want to miss you. I want to have an allocated time where we can have a conversation. That's all it is. So we want to use words like, let's set aside some time to chat. We keep it casual, but we don't let it stay willy-nilly. Plus, your time and their time is valuable. You ever try to get somebody on the phone and you go back and forth and back and forth, and they'll call you at the end of the week, then you just gave them your power? Doesn't work very well. All right, next step is the actual presentation. That's where you find out a little bit more about them and what's important to them. You talk about your company's opportunity, and this is where the objections come up. And you guide them into a decision by asking them open-ended questions. So that can be done, in my opinion, on a Zoom. I like to be face-to-face so I can feel people and we can make a deeper connection, on a phone call or in person. Don't make the mistake, even though social media is all great and everything, of trying to text people through a recruiting appointment. That never ends very well. You want to take the time to understand the prospect and what's most important to her or him. All right, then the third step is to overcome or invite objections. And we're going to talk about that today. The fifth step is the closing. Guide them to a decision. Okay, so those are the 5 steps to the process of recruiting. You guys with me? Is this making sense? Okay, good. So now let's jump into the actual objections training. Now, I mentioned to you that you're not going to have an objection if you don't have rapport. But here's the mistake that a lot of beginning recruiters make. And by the way, we all make mistakes. So just welcome them. They're called learning lessons. Practice, and you won't make as many, but if you're not making mistakes, then you're not working your business, right? We're not doing perfect. We're practicing all the time and just working to master our skills and be comfortable and confident, okay? So if you start, here's the biggest mistake people make. I'm going to use Angela because I know her really well and she'll be good with the role play, but I go like this. I get her on the phone. We set the appointment and here she is. And, we get on and I open and I talk about just her. I say, gosh, how's the kids? How's the husband? How's your, pardon me, your summer off from the show business that she does? And then she says, great. Now, Angela, role play with me for a minute.
It's going good. It's going good. I'm enjoying my time off. The kids are great. The husband is great. All is good.
Oh, well, what do you have the kids in this summer? Are they doing anything fun? Are you guys planning any vacations?
So my husband and I are actually leaving for Vegas tomorrow. My daughter is a figure skating coach at her figure skating camp she used to attend. And my youngest son, he's kind of just hanging out with me since I have the luxury of being off for the summer. So we're going to do some little day trips and things like that. Go to the pool.
How fun. Well, I wanted to just kind of dig in and see if there's any questions that I can answer for you.
Sure. I'm not necessarily,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I'm confused. I hear a lot of times with a lot of companies that, in order to really make money, you have to build a team. And I don't know if I necessarily want to build a team right now. So what is your company offering where I can still make a decent income without recruiting a team? Not saying that I don't want to recruit a team, but I'm just curious if there is an opportunity to make some real money.
Okay. Now, this is not a setup, by the way, you guys, although I know Angela really well, but this is what the biggest mistake people make. Do you see where we are in the process? And I led her right into it, didn't I? What questions do you have, I say? Anybody ever done that? I've done it like, I don't know how many times. And then I'm like, oh no, because here's why. I don't know what's important to her. Does she want to make money? Does she love the products? Has she even used our products? Is community important to her? Does she work full time? Do you get where I'm going? I'm on step 4 in the first 5 minutes of my talk with her. Not good. Because now I don't have anywhere to go. So you see why it's important that you don't start that out by saying, what questions do you have? You don't want to do that. The ideal way to start would be, Angela, come back on. Now, we won't do this full thing, but I'm going to show you where we start. Angela, I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to talk with you today. I know that you shared a little bit with me that you have summers off and that this business was really attractive to you to really build a 6-figure income. But first, before we really, get into the business and all that, I'd like to know a little bit more about you and what interests you when it comes to the business. What's drawing you to it?
Well, what's really drawing me to the business is the opportunity to build a 6-figure income. That's really my goal at this point. I've been successful in doing that with my television career, and I would love to do that with this opportunity as well.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about, what are some of the things that you would want to do with that money once you start building your business? Okay. Now, guys, I'm going to pause here because this is an objections training. But do you see how now, and look what I'm doing, I'm taking notes because I'm listening to what she's telling me is important to her. You see, if we listen, what happens is she's going to tell me all the things that she wants. Now, the reason why I said to her, what is it that you want to do with that 6 figures? Why is building 6 figures important to you? Because she's giving me more information of how I can help her. build what she wants. Do you get where I'm going? Okay, so we're going to pause there. I just wanted to show you. Don't ever start a conversation by saying, what questions do you have? You're going to start the conversation by connecting to her and finding out what's important to her. And this doesn't matter what company you're with. I don't even care if you're in network marketing. If I'm working over there at Nordstrom, I actually live by a Nordstrom now, go figure. But if I was working at Nordstrom right now and someone walks into my department, man, woman, whatever department, the first thing I want to know is, what is it that they came looking for? I don't start talking about the sale on the tank tops. They could be looking for a dress or whatever. Do you get where I'm going? Okay. All right. So we had to get that out of the way. Objections are a sign of interest. It shows the prospect has actually pictured themselves doing the business. So your new belief when you get an objection is, excellent. They've actually thought about doing what I do. I'm feeling confident to help them work through their objection. All right. Objections are an invitation to share more, right? It's an invitation to share more. It's also, and I think this is the biggest thing, it's an opportunity for you to build a closer connection. Because if Kathy is telling me that, you know, they're a little tight on funds and she really wants to join, but she needs to know, how could she do this and make her kit investment back in the very first month so her husband doesn't get all mad? She's trusting me to show her the plan, isn't she? Yes, she is. So it's an opportunity for you to build the partnership before it's even started, right? You're building that rapport. You're building on the partnership. Okay, objections also, you'll notice this, can be a misconception of not knowing enough about what someone's coming into or considering, right? So when people say, is this that pyramid scheme? If you think about it, even retail business is built on a pyramid, right? You work as an employee and the owner makes more than you. Why do they make more than you? Because they pay the damn rent. Because they started the business. Because they have more experience. Why does an upline six-figure earner make more than someone just coming in? Because they started before you. Because they have experience. Because they're going to partner with you. Here's the good part, though. Guess what else? They don't make money unless you make money. So when you've got an upline leader that is investing in you, be happy. Because they don't make money unless you make money. And you don't make money unless your people make money. Doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter where you came in, everyone starts at the same place. I start at the same place you did, by buying a kit. Investing in a kit, rather. Okay? All right. So, objections are a good thing. Have I changed some of your minds right now? Good. That's what I'm hoping to do, because I want you to learn to love objections, and I want you to take this training and train your people. Now here, let's get into a couple different things around the steps. But before I do, I want to give you a pro tip. I call this a pro tip. And I also talk about this in my book, because I use this when I'm evaluating my relationships, whether it's my family, well, yeah, especially my kids, with my coworkers, with anybody that I'm in relationship with, I ask myself these questions. Are people moving closer to me? Are they pulling away from me, moving further away? Or are they running for the hills? You ever had anybody run from you? I have, especially my kids. No, but you guys get where I'm going. See, you can evaluate along the way how it's going. And often, why do people pull back? There's only one real reason why they pull back. Who knows? Because they feel like you don't understand. They don't feel like you get what they're trying to say. So remember when Teresa shared at the beginning, like, my God, what's going on? That is the first nature of most people, including me. But I go like this. My job is to validate them and understand them. It does not mean I have to agree. So when somebody says to me, oh, is this a pyramid scheme? Of course, I don't think it is. I've been making a living at this for 23 years. It's my full-time gig. It's afforded me millions of dollars, tons of trips around the world, and a beautiful lifestyle for my family. Is it a pyramid scheme? Of course, I don't think it is. But when someone says that, do you think that ruffles my feathers? Not a chance. But it used to. I used to want to defend that. So here's your first step. Number one, I validate and I acknowledge what the person's saying. It doesn't matter what they're saying. If I can't have some empathy and understanding, do you think they're going to want to work with me? They don't. They won't. And if you're, the reason why I like to do in person or on Zoom is because I go like this. Yeah. Now that's exaggerating, but do you guys get what I mean? When someone sits in like this, they're interested. That's the body language. When they go like this, they're backing up from me. And here's the deal. It's a bit of a dance. Because during the conversation, sometimes people go like this and then they'll kind of go, then maybe they cross their arms a little bit. And then what do you think I do? Oh, maybe I've touched something that's, where I've lacked a little understanding. Okay, so here's some word choices for you to validate anyone and everybody. Ready? I can see where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming from. Or, I get it. I get it. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing that. I see how you could think that. That's a good point. I never thought of it that way. And here's another one that works really well. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, I get it. Do you see how these little things make the person actually open up to you and feel safe enough to share? I do it with my kids all the time. And do you know, I have a 29-year-old son that calls me twice a day. Hey, Mom, I got a question for you. Hey, Mom, it's me. Can you watch the kids? Hey, Mom. Now, I love the fact that my kids are close to me. I certainly was a parent first, but I always did my best to understand them before I told them what to do and what they were, where they needed to rethink or, do something different. And I always put myself in the position of the person. So like when they're, feeling fear, your prospect, I say, you know what, I felt that way too. Boy, did I. Yeah. Ooh, I thought that too. Okay. So validate and acknowledge is the first step. The second step is to ask questions. And you want to ask open-ended questions. Let's start with who, what, where, when, and how. So things like, what was it that got you thinking about that? Who did you hear that from? What was the experience that you had that made you feel that way? Where the hell did you get that from? No, I don't say that. But do you get what I mean? Who, what, where, when, and how. Why do we ask questions like this? Who knows? Open-ended. Why do we ask open-ended questions?
To start to have a conversation instead of just a yes or a no, and then it ends there.
Excellent. Because when we ask questions that require people to share more, we also gain more knowledge, which leads to more of a connection. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. We're just people on the journey helping other people with whatever it is we have to offer. Products or your service. Products or your service, the business. Okay, so you're building the deeper connection when you ask open-ended questions. There's also another clue in here, and I want to share this with you. People have to think 7 times more to formulate an answer. Kathy gets it. She's going, yep, yep, yep. 7 times more than if we just say, does that sound okay? I do that because I want to make sure people are still engaged with me. That's why I like doing Zoom calls versus lives. Okay. And I take it real serious when people sign up for my stuff because I want to help them break through where they're stuck. But if someone's going like this and we're on a live, I can't see that. But like, notice I saw Kathy going, yeah. So she gets it. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing pretty good there explaining that. They're engaged still with me. They're not ready to hang up yet. Okay, so open-ended questions are going to allow you to help. It's going to allow you to gain more information, and it's going to give them the processing. They've got a process to think about why and who and what and where is going on with them. Okay, you're going to get more of a story. Okay, the third point to the objections process is we rephrase what they told us and we move forward. Now I'm going to bring it all together in just a minute with the 1 or 2 objections. But when we rephrase, we repeat what we hear them say to make sure that we've got it right. And then we may move forward with some suggestions. Now I'm going to sidebar one thing right now. When you are talking to people, this is kind of an old rule of thumb, and some people would call this old school, but I really like it because it really helps you, again, build that rapport and that connection. So what I want you to do is use this terminology. feel, felt, found. You know it? Kathy knows it. Who else has heard of that? Feel, felt, found. Okay, it's like a tried and true way of sharing a little bit without over dumping on people. You know, we tend to, in the recruiting process, over share. You don't need to. Actually, less is more. So I'll give you an example of feel, felt, found. Let's say that somebody says to me, I'm a little bit afraid of, you know, being a salesperson. I say this, well, I can understand the way you feel. In fact, I felt the same way when I started in this business. And what I found was I needed to rethink the way I looked at sales. I was looking at it like I was selling something and somebody was going to purchase from me. But when I realized that I could share a product or my business, and the majority of people were going to say no to me, but there would be a few people that would say yes, I was able to work through that challenge. Okay, did you guys see? Did you hear the feel? I can see how you feel that way, right? That's a validation. I let him know I felt that way and how it felt. And then what I found was, how did I work through it? Well, it was with the change of mindset. So you could get off this call and say to your team members, you know, guys, I was really thinking about something. You know, I used to feel like objections were a bad thing. And then I kind of found like I was on this call and I felt a little bit differently about it. And what I found is if I use this 3-step process, I think after a little bit of practice, I'm going to really enjoy helping people work through the challenges that could potentially be holding them back. Because really all I am is a conduit. It's all we all are, really. Right? Okay, so did that feel pretty good? Yeah? All right, so now let's go to the actual objection, and we're just about going to wrap up into the questions. So let me give you, actually, I'm going to give you a few do's and don'ts so you can keep this in your notes. So do ask questions until you fully understand what the person's challenge is, right? So keep asking questions. Where'd you hear that? How'd you feel that? Or, you know, what made you feel that way? Is it possible that you had a bad experience at one point with a pushy salesperson? You know, don't be afraid to just dig on in and they will just know they will appreciate it. Okay, do let them know you're on their side. And I say this a lot. I'd say something like, you know, Annika, I want you to win at this business. So if for any reason this doesn't feel right to you, you can tell me no. That's okay. We'll still be friends. Because I'm not going to be the pushy person. And guys, I've built 4 multi-million-dollar businesses and been a top recruiter many times, and even #1 in my company multiple years. And I can be a kind person and still recruit people to the business. I don't have to be pushy. I do not have to convince. I don't want to convince anybody because those people are hard to work with. They didn't want to do it anyway. And I give people the out. Some of the professional, real high level professional salespeople think that's nuts. I don't really care. That's the way I do it because it feels good to me. My goal is to work with people that want to be worked with. And that should be yours too. All right. Do be honest and do be empathetic. You don't have to know everything. If you don't know, let's pretend like, Sharon was like, God, I don't know the answer to that. That's okay. Guess what I say? You know what? I'm going to have to look at that. I have not had that question for a while, or I haven't ever had that question. Good point. I'm going to write it down and I'm going to get back to you on that. Nobody cares. You don't have to know it all. In fact, it's impossible because it changes just like that. All right. Don't take it personally. If you're not hearing no, you're not asking or offering to enough people. It's not about you. It's just no, they don't want the opportunity, or no, it's not right for them, or no, the timing could be a lot of things. When I hear no, I open a relationship. I do not close the door on the sale. So consider that. Shows people a lot because most people don't do it. Right now, in this day, you got to be willing to do what other people won't do. If you're not leveling up your relationship building, if you're not leveling up your service, you're just going to be a transactional salesperson. And nobody wants that. I want to go to somebody that cares about me, or at least remembers me, for Pete's sakes. And I'm a buyer, just so you guys know. I love to buy. I don't like to be sold to. So when somebody cares, they actually take a little bit of extra like time or help. I'm like, ooh, I like this person. Now, the next thing you should ask me, I'm such a buyer, you should say, how many people do I have in my arsenal that follow up with me all the time? Maybe one. That's it. Out of everywhere that I buy, maybe one, and she's at Nordstrom. So do you guys get where I'm going? The opportunity is yours, because people don't do this, and it's not that hard to be kind. It's not that hard to be a friend. You don't have to spend hours. I'm not saying that. All right. Don't argue or confront. That'll kill you every time. People will move away from you and they will say she's pushy, or he's pushy, or my God, do they not get a hint? Okay. And don't skip steps. Do you see how at the beginning when Angela and I played that out, I didn't know where to go because I don't know what's important to her. People struggle because they miss steps. And I am very passionate about training the recruiting skills and mastering them, because it's part of the vital lifeline to your business. If you're not bringing in new people, it's just your one person doing all the work. And new people bring excitement and passion. All right, so let's do the most common objections. I said it was going to be 40 minutes. I'm going a little over, but here we go. Let's do this one. I'm not a salesperson. Okay. The majority of people that say that have a misconception of what sales is, but we don't tell them that right away, do we? They lack knowledge. And often they're thinking about a circumstance where somebody didn't give 2 cents about them. Do you get what I mean? How many people here have ever felt the feeling of a pushy salesperson? Raise your hand. Yeah, everybody has, you know. It's the difference when you go to a car lot and the guy's like, all right, you know, over here we've got the special of the day. And I'm like, dude, I don't want the special. I want that Cadillac over there or whatever. And maybe I'm not dressed, you know, where it looks like I could afford that. I don't like that either. But the point is, he didn't ask, or she didn't ask. What is it that you're looking for? What's most important to you in a vehicle? And don't assume just because I'm a woman that only the flashy emotional things like the sound system is important. I want to know about the gas mileage, you know, right? Ask people what's important to them. All right. So first thing the person says is, I'm not a salesperson. And I say, you know what? I appreciate you sharing that with me. I get it. I think that most people that come into this business don't necessarily see themselves as salespeople, share with me, if you would, what part of selling makes you uncomfortable? And then I listen. And then I found that this person, let's say, so I'm just posing a scenario, maybe felt like they were applying pressure or someone applied pressure to them. And they say something like, well, the person never asked me what I liked. They didn't really care about me. And I don't want to be that person. And I say, do you think you're going to be somebody that isn't going to find out what somebody likes? And because you don't like feeling that feeling of pressure, how would it feel to you if I showed you a way that you could share the products and the benefits, and then people could decide if they were right for them? Are you open to learning more? Do you see how that went? Now, of course, it's a fake scenario, but when you apply the 3 proven steps, validate them. I appreciate you. I get it. Yeah, I get why you feel that way. What is it that has you feeling, that pressure, whatever it is? What kind of scenarios have you been in before? Now, here's another thing. This is a higher level tip, but I'm going to give it to you because you guys are ready. Sometimes I flip it all the way around and I'll go like this. I get that, that, it stinks and no one wants to feel pressure. Hey, tell me, Kathy, what was a really good sales experience you had? See how I flipped it? Because now Kathy's not thinking about the pressure part. And then she says, oh, well, what it was, Joan, was when this gal, blah, 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 blah. And now she's in a different vibration. Now she's up here instead of down here in the fear mode. And guess what I say? Could you do that? Could you mimic that? And oftentimes they say yes. Great. What else? And then she says, well, I don't know about the kit cost. I get it. Yeah, that kit's one of our higher investments. But what is it that has you looking at that kit? What in there do you love? I get it. I get it. I understand. What do you love? What has you looking at that kit? What's most important to you? Because now at this point, guess what I get to bring them back to? I know you told me at the beginning that ultimately you wanted to make 6 figures. If I could show you a way to make your kit investment back in the first 30 days of business, are you open to learning more? Or how does that sound to you? Yeah, sounds pretty good. Okay, what else? I don't know if I have enough time. Okay, you guys get where I'm going. So all these common objections, they will come up. And like I mentioned to you at the beginning, this summer I am working on my ultimate recruiting blueprint, and I will be offering within the Flip the Switch community a more in-depth training. So if that is something you're interested in, I want you to respond back to put you down to reach out to you, and I'll certainly do that. Now, what I'd love to do is we'll stop here, and I'd love to answer any questions. I know we're coming right upon the hour. Oh yeah, it'll be 45 minutes, but here we go. I think I'd love to know if there were some things that were helpful or if there's any questions that I can answer for all of you. And I want to thank you truly for being here as well. Anybody? Anybody?
More so just thank you for this, because sometimes we get so caught up in what interested us in the business that we want to impart that onto the person or prospect that we're speaking to. And a lot of times they don't even match up. Like they're so vast and different. And so it's really important to, like, what attracted me to this business. Most people aren't even thinking six figures. Most people are just thinking $100 to $200 to be able to go to the grocery store and not have to, deal with declined credit cards. So if I'm talking to someone about a six-figure business, they're going to get scared away because they're like, wait a minute, I just need $200. So getting to know your prospect and really not skipping steps is crucial. And I learned that, the hard way, because I was all about a six-figure business. That was what interested me into network marketing in general. And I had to learn, as crazy as it sounds, and still sounds, and it'll still be crazy to me until the day I die, I don't understand why somebody wouldn't want that as well. Needless to say, I don't have to agree with it. I will never understand. I will never, ever understand. And I don't have to agree with it, but I accept it. And so leaving out those steps and not getting to know your prospect is just deadly, because most people don't want what you want. And what attracted you to the business half the time isn't the reason why they were attracted to the business.
Yeah, that is so true. And what we have to remember is that our job as the network marketing leader, because you're leading them through the process, right? Oops, are you guys there? Where are we? Oh, there we go. You're leading them through the process, right? So our job is just to gain information and insight about them, whether you're selling them a product or whether you're selling them the business. It's really no different, right? So again, I'm just gonna put my link here in case anybody wants a strategy call. I'm gonna drop it right now. You can copy and paste that into your notes. And, as you embark in this recruiting process, my encouragement to you is keep things simple and in order of the steps. So if you are doing just random reach outs, it can be a little more difficult, even if you know them, but it's a little more difficult because there's no precursor, right? So that's why I am a big fan of product posts and business posts. And if you're not on social media, then you've got to share the product and be talking about the business when you're out and about or in your circles of influence. Does that make sense? And actually, that is the tried and true old school way, but it's all based on one thing, guys. It's all based on connection and building a relationship. So just know that you over time can continue, like I said, to open the door on a relationship, because I have had many people join me after saying no much later. Okay. All right, everybody, this call will be sent to you, the recording, since you have registered, and I will, I want to say one more thing. So for the month of July, we still will have morning motivation, as well as the leader lowdowns, but they will be recordings. So what we did was I had a group of mine pick the top ones that they felt were the best, and then we'll be placing those in there for July. But many of you know, I'm going to tell you, I'm launching a podcast. No, I haven't told everybody that. Oh, it just went on recording. But anyway, and really revamping some things within my brand. And then also working with my own team to really get them strengthened for the fourth quarter coming up. Because like I said, summer right now, it's such a good time to develop your skills, right? You're at home or you've got a little bit more time, or, you know, it's just a little bit of a different time frame, and it's not always the busiest, right? And we can ramp up to be ready for fourth quarter in the fall and gift giving season as well. All right. So I want to thank you all for investing in yourselves first. I want you to take the notes that you took today, take the recording. I want you to look at what you're doing well already. And then where are the areas that you need to practice? And practice doing it on your husbands, on your wives, on your kids, because you get good at validating and asking questions, and you're going to find they move closer to you because they feel understood. And isn't that what it's really all about? All right, guys, have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.